So I'm Danny Flexen from SecondsOut.
And you got Fuad from behind the gloves. The ultimate duo.
We're here to combine the best of both channels, no offence to Michelle or Raheem, for what we're going to call it. We're going to call it Stuck With Two.
Well, we're kind of ripping their name, aren't we? Stuck With You, but we'll call it Stuck With, Stuck With Two sounds catchy as well. Sorry, guys.
Stuck with Foo.
Stuck With Food, that's not bad. But yeah, guys, we couldn't really think of a better name. We just wanted to get the content out there and get going before we pause again, like we have plenty of times.
So what, are we going to dive straight in with like the major talking points? You know, is Anthony Joshua a racist? Is Daniel Kinahan a criminal?
There's too much to talk about. You know what I want to start talking about first, though? The first bit is today's news on Dillian White and the WBC. That is something that really caught my eye. I think it's an interesting topic, and also like it was not expected, but we were kind of waiting to see what Dillian was going to do once Tyson and Joshua apparently agreed to this deal. We were like, okay, well, what the hell's happening with Dillian? He hadn't said anything, and boom, this happens. What was your first reaction? I
don't know. It's a tricky one, right? So with the WBC situation, because he's been number one for so long, he hasn't been mandatory for so long. I think it's coming up to a year now. But with him being number one for so long, you have to have a certain amount of sympathy with him. But then the flip side of that is he's had opportunities that he's kind of gone the other way against in the past. So he had the Joshua fight that he turned down because he didn't think he was being valued highly enough, which is fair enough. There was the Pulev eliminator in Bulgaria, which he didn't take, and Hughie Fury took it and lost. And there was the Luis Ortiz kind of second eliminator for the WBC previously, which I kind of had more sympathy with him for not taking that because it wasn't a final eliminator. So he's had some opportunities that he's decided not to take, but since then he's built himself up into being a pay-per-view fighter in his own right. So it's kind of benefited him in a way. But yeah, I mean, I think he's waited long enough now. I think most people agree with that.
It's a sticky situation though, because definitely he's waited long enough. He's been mandatory since last July. Obviously, there was that little breakthrough with all the whole scandal with the drug testing and whatnot, but it became mandatory. He's been number one since 2017. That's ridiculous. Like that boggles my mind. But then you have the counter argument. Yeah, he didn't take the Joshua fight, but again, it was for the WBC. We have to focus on the path of the WBC. There was no actual offer for the WBC fight, and really and truly, it should be there should have been a fight straight after the Fury Deontay Wilder second fight. That should have been mandatory there and then, not February 2021, because we knew that they were going to do it a third time. And it goes to show, and I hate to say it, politics in boxing is one of the things that just hold back so much in the sport, because if on any other sport, if you're number one or if you're mandatory to imagine a football team winning the semi-final of a Champions League and not being allowed to play in the final because
you've got to wait 2 years for the final.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So there's that, and then obviously Fury versus Joshua again, business. That is just too big to avoid. Will we ever get it at the level it's at now, where all of them got the belts? Will we ever have that situation where only Joshua's got only one defeat? What if Joshua loses again? What if Fury loses? So it takes amph away from the fight.
But this is the thing, Dillian White has had public sympathy largely for the last year or so. People have been behind him. They've sympathised with the fact that he's waited so long. He's been fighting good fighters in the interim as well, which has garnered him a lot of respect. But if people start to perceive him as the one person, the one obstacle in the way of Fury Joshua for the undisputed title, they'll turn against him, I think, because everyone's desperate for that fight, especially in Britain.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome is. Do you have any idea? I know you're probably not into your law and stuff, but what do you think can happen? Because I actually have no idea. I just know that he's going to take it to court, but I have no idea how the outcome can or cannot be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because obviously the WBC make their own rules. They're a sanctioning body. They're not backed by the government or in any country. Then so what is the recourse? Surely they can just do whatever they want with their own belt. So it's hard to see. I mean, if there's a contract in writing that says Dillian White has got to have his chance by February 2021 was the agreement, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If that's in writing, it's a kind of legally bound contract, and he's got a solid case, hasn't he? But again, like you pointed out, I'm hardly a lawyer. So I don't really know. But you've got to think that they'll bow to the pressure, but it's hard because if the WBC don't want to be seen as the people getting in the way of Fury Joshua, do they?
No, but also I think that they say they've agreed something between Fury and Joshua, but they literally said it's verbal. There's no contracts being signed. They've just agreed on something.
All they've agreed is the purse splits.
Exactly. So they've agreed that they're gonna have 2 fights. When it's on paper, it's gonna be whatever they've agreed with the purse split, 50-50 and then 60-40.
But no agreement on venue, no agree on TV.
No signature. That's the main thing. No signature. So even if Dillian did take it to court and has this this argument with, oh look, they're saying, but they're saying there's nothing on paper. Your fight on paper, on facts, is still February 2020. Whatever happens. Now, if it comes to February 2020 and you don't get that, then it's a whole different situation. You can't go off, and I can understand why it's just frustrated, because I would be if I'd been waiting 3 years for a title shot, but you can't go off words and what Fury said and what Eddie said just to say, oh yeah, the fight's ready, I'm not going to fight for the world title. Now look what they're doing, when it's just a little,
I think they're just looking to, they're just looking to pressure the WBC into coming out publicly and saying, we're going to safeguard Dillian White's opportunity for the time we said we would, regardless of what happens. I think that's all they want, is that reassurance. And then it wouldn't need to go to court. But I'm guessing Suleiman from WBC doesn't want to make that guarantee in case it comes back to bite him in the butt.
Well, Eddie did say in the article to Sky, he said that we've still got Dillian White's situation to overcome. So it's not like he's avoided him. They're obviously trying to think something through. One thing I want to talk about while we're on the WBC situation is something I saw you actually get involved in a tweet about.
Is this the franchise champion thing?
That's correct. Okay, so the franchise champion, if Fury is elevated to franchise champion, White essentially becomes WBC champion, world regular, whatever you want to call it, the world regular champion, whether he fights for that or they just email it to him, #email champion, #that. If Joshua beats Fury, he doesn't actually become the WBC world champion. He becomes the diamond champion. I didn't know this. I actually didn't. I was like, oh, you can't actually lose the franchise champion.
No, because it's not a title you compete for. It's a title you're awarded. It's like an honorary thing, isn't it? Like I could say I'm the franchise YouTube champion. Who cares? Like, it doesn't really matter, does it?
We know what happened there.
I mean, I might say that.
We know what happened there. The pay-per-view action was missed. We've mentioned that before. If you guys want to see Flexen versus Fuad 2, let us know in the comments and we'll get it on camera.
I might still have pictures of my injuries, although they weren't inflicted by Fuad. It was one of his friends who decided to bully me around the ring in body sparring.
That was the day I got hit to the liver very bad.
Yeah.
I still feel that. But the franchise, explain it to the people that are still a bit confused on the situation.
It's just a WBC honorary title, I suppose. It's similar to kind of champion emeritus, except you don't have to retire to get it. It seems to be just a bit of a perk in that if you've represented the WBC for a long time or you're a favourite of that organisation, they make you franchise champion. And essentially what it means is you can avoid mandatory obligations. You don't have to defend the title against the number one contender. You can avoid that and you can go into fights that are bigger, essentially. So Canelo was originally given the franchise title so that he could move up to light heavyweight to fight Sergei Kovalev without having to defend his middleweight belt.
So let's just try to be as logical as possible here. Most likely, with everything going to plan, Tyson Fury, without a doubt, is going to become franchise champion. I don't see any other way around it because let's be honest, like we mentioned in the earlier part of this video, they're not going to fight Dillian White when they've got the Joshua fight almost agreed, right? And then Dillian's argument of taking it to court is like, all right, no, well, you've got no argument because you can either fight for a vacant title. Hey, you've got your title shot now. You're fighting for the WBC title. It might not be against Fury or Wilder, but you are fighting for the title. That's the whole point. Forget the person who's across the ring.
Do we know the WBC number 2 is? If they did make him fight for a vacant title instead of just inheriting it, do we know who White would be fighting?
Who is it?
No, I don't know. I'd have to have a look. But imagine it's like some proper danger man. Like after waiting for ages.
Yeah, but Fury and Wilder are danger men in their own rights as well.
Yeah, of course, but then you get the money that comes with it, don't you? Whereas if he fights like Luis Ortiz, for example, he's not going to get anywhere near the money and he might still lose.
Let's have a look. Okay,
pretty harsh, isn't it?
Heavyweight rankings for WBC. The number 2 challenger is actually Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, so he's going to fight Fury. So who's number 3?
Alexander Usyk. He's with the. We've got a
Oh,
WBO
imagine.
situation. We've got a WBO situation to touch upon after. But number 4 is actually Oscar Rivas. Number 5 is Luis Ortiz. Number 6, Andy Ruiz.
So it
Any
could
of them
be the long-awaited Oscar Rivas rematch for the
the fight that
WBC
all the
title,
fans
for the
want.
green belt, for the green belt.
I don't think they do. I think again, money will come into play again. I don't think Rivas will get it. I think they'll give a third shot to Ortiz or Andy Ruiz. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, see that? I'd quite like to see that fight.
Andy Ruiz, he's a Mexican.
There you go.
I'm just saying, WBC is a Mexican organization, and I'm not saying they favor the Mexican fighters, but we've seen a lot of Mexican win the world titles with the WBC.
Well, he's in Team Canelo now as well.
Exactly.
He's like WBC wet dream.
Imagine a heavyweight WBC Mexican world champion. Like
Oh,
was world champion, but imagine if he had the WBC title. I think it very well could be White versus Ruiz some point next year for the WBC title. Have we just figured
I'd pay to watch that. I'd pay for that pay-per-view.
No, for sure. I think that's a fight that's already been discussed, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a good fight. I'd really like to see that fight.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So, with that subject, I think we've reached a conclusion. We think that Tyson Fury is going to become the franchise champion, go on to fight Anthony Joshua. Should he come past Wilder for the second time?
It's the only belt Fury hasn't had. He's had all 4 alphabet belts. He's had the lineal belt, whatever that is, and now franchise champion. It's got to happen.
Well, he still hasn't won the area title, so maybe go back and try and win that.
Maybe he can always go back and fight. I don't know who would he be fighting for the central area.
That's a good question. I want to look that up. Hold on.
Dave Allen, maybe.
Who?
Doncaster central area, yeah.
Mate, at the keep mode. Ooh.
At the keep mode.
I think it's actually. I think I checked not the other day, but it came up a while ago, a couple of months ago on Twitter. I think it's actually vacant. Someone actually mentioned this. Fury's only belt that he hasn't won was
Fury Allen. It's got to happen for the central area.
Pay-per-view action right there. All right. While we're sticking on the topics of heavyweights, though, let's talk about the WBO situation. They've obviously got their mandatory in Alexander Usyk, who's meant to fight Derek Chisora. We don't know when that's happening now. I have no idea what's going on there. But could that belt ruin the whole prospect of a unified, undisputed title fight? What do you think is going to happen?
See, I spoke to Alexander Krasuk, who's Usyk's promoter, about 2 months ago, so just at the start of lockdown. And he said, we're going to press our case. We'll let Joshua fight against Pulev. And then after that, we wouldn't want him to take any other fights in the interim. And I said, well, even if it was a unification fight against Fury. And he said, no, we'd want to have our fight first. And then the winner of that, him saying Usyk, would fight Fury for all the belts. But then I saw a headline on social media a few days ago saying Usyk won't stand in the way or something like that. So he'd have his fight afterwards for all the belts instead of pressing his claim early. So I don't know if that came directly from him or if it came from his management team. But it seems like there may have been a change of heart there and that Usyk's now willing to wait and challenge the winner in a bigger fight probably for all the gold.
Yeah. Well, it's like this, isn't it? This situation's like you've got this pen. This pen is like the pen, right?
Can't wait to see where you're going with this.
It comes once in a lifetime. And this is the time you have to grab it, right? You want to grab this. It's a flying pen. Let me put it like this.
Yeah, it must be if it only comes once in a lifetime. Yeah.
Once in a lifetime, and you got to go like that and grab it. You've just got to take that opportunity.
Right.
If you let it even go past the screen, you're done. You can't. You might get the lid. You might just get the pen. You might get like a touch of it, but you're not going to get the full thing. With this situation where two guys have every single title on the line, they are pretty much at their primes. They are like 30, 31, both of them. And Brit versus Brit, even if it doesn't happen in the UK, it can take place in Bahrain, doesn't matter. The fight is so large. Even in history, I don't think we've seen such a fight.
That is a large pen as well.
That is a very large pen.
Exactly.
So you got to grab it. You've got to take the opportunity. Even if your hand gets a little bit of a marker on it, you can wash your hand later, right? Dillian White can wait a few more months and win
on board
regular.
With this analogy.
No, Dillian White can win the WBC world title because he's got the ink on his hand and they can rub it out and try grip onto his chance of holding the pen, right? Of fighting the winner of Joshua Fury, because essentially he will be the WBC champion. That's my analogy. basically, put it into simple words. This is a great chance, guys. Take it. Let's get it on.
Grab the pen.
Hashtag grab the pen.
Hashtag grab the pen. Yeah.
I like
it.
that. I just
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I like the way you brought it to life.
Yeah, mate. Honestly, this is if I could tag Fury versus Joshua on there, I could have.
Don't get this with MJP. That's the thing. She might be the boss and get all the big names, but Fuad, he's got your analogies and your metaphors, mate. Figurative language, on point.
Listen, we got the both best of both worlds, right? We have our
Easy
traits.
for you to say.
Well, yeah, but yeah, we'll. I think we should take it. I think 2 fights. It's just so perfect, man. I can't even believe they came into a verbal agreement. It shocked me when it came out.
What do you think though about this kind of slow but gradual movement to turn Fury and Joshua into this generation's Dempsey Johnson? You know, this kind of race war played out in the ring. It's just a bit stupid, isn't it?
Look, when we talk about race, and we said this, spoke to a friend of mine the other day, and we were like, this whole race agenda in sport needs to go. And let's be honest, it's not going to go for a while. But even in regular day in life, right? What I think is we're at this bridge where we're not at the worst of racism from back in the day, but we still have a heavy load of racism here. We're trying to get there. It's going to take a long time. I think this whole having an agenda on this fight, it's ridiculous. It's disgusting as well. It's actually disgusting because the color of your skin, like everyone says when it comes to everything that's going on right now, hashtag Black Lives Matter, everything, all that stuff, your color of your skin doesn't, it shouldn't mean anything when it comes to situations. It shouldn't mean anything anyway, right? Me and you are the same, look, we bleed the same blood, right? You're a bit older than me. I'm young, you know.
Just a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm messing. But we're the same, right? We've got nothing. There's no differences. We're human beings. This is boxing. This is Anthony Joshua from London against
Watford.
Tyson Fury. Watford, London, whatever, same shit. Against Tyson Fury from up north. This is just a great. That's it. That's all it is. Why bring race into it? I don't understand it. What was your take when you saw it?
I think people are just trying to hijack it for their own agendas. But I think there's people involved in the making of the fight that might not object to it if it means it becomes a bigger fight and a bigger money fight and gets more coverage, even if it's not the type of coverage we would like to see. I think, you know, Joshua did the right thing in standing up for his community at the protest and saying what he said. I know a lot of people now think he probably should have got his team to read the speech before he read it out because it wasn't his own speech. But whatever you think of the content of the speech, I don't think him standing up as a figurehead for his community is wrong. But it's Fury's role in it. And I think there's a real danger that Fury could get hijacked and made as the figurehead of the kind of all lives matter anti-BLM side of things. And Fury's not like that at all. You know, I've met him. I'm sure you've met him.
Yeah.
He's a guy who believes in equality. He's a guy who believes everyone's the same. So I hope he's not kind of pushed into this role that it doesn't really suit him.
Do you think it's because of the things he's been saying? I'm not sure. I don't want to be wrong when I say this, but wasn't something put up about Fury's Snapchat, and he might have put All Lives Matter by mistake, or was it?
Yeah, I think someone said that he's been posting All Lives Matter, but knowing Fury, there's every chance because he's smart, he's really intelligent, but there is a naive side to him, and it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't even really know what that means. But even if he does, there's a lot of people out there posting that at the moment who aren't, you know, someone I would consider racist. I think there's a lot of misinformation and people don't really understand what the hashtag means. I would never use it because I understand the connotations. I'm not sure everyone does. But regardless, even if Fury said that and made a mistake in saying it, I still don't think he's there to be this generation's version of Jack Dempsey in that analogy. Do you know what I mean? Or Max Schmeling, going back to kind of Schmeling-Lewis in the World War thing as well. It's just like you said, they're just two guys who fought their whole careers to get to where they are now. And I don't want to see it cheapened or tarnished by an angle that doesn't really lend itself naturally.
And it's got nothing to do with sport. That's the main thing. Race shouldn't be involved in sport, right? Whether he's black, pink, yellow, purple, blue, yellow, it doesn't matter. White, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever your color is, doesn't matter. You're in the ring, you got two pair of fists, you're in there to fight. What we should be discussing is their skill set. Fury moves and Joshua's coming. Like, those are the things we should be adding up. Those are the things we should be taking in. If you want to bring background into it, don't bring colours. Just say, all right, Watford versus Manchester. I don't know. some are silly, but no, this is just over the top.
I think you could make the argument that systemically, Joshua has had the advantages going in. And that's mainly due to the fact that he came through the GB program, started boxing late, of course, but came through the GP program, benefited from training at the EIS, and then carried on working with Rob McCracken, also Tony Sims at first in his pro career. And he's still training at the EIS around the best of the amateurs that we've got, amazing facilities. He's been backed since day one by Britain's top promoter of the moment in Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. He's had Sky Sports Machine right behind him. And Fury's kind of had to go the other way through at least partly fault of his own and some of the mistakes he's made, but also just because he didn't go to the Olympics, he didn't win the gold medal, he didn't have the big promoter behind him at the start. He had Mick Hennessy, who I have a huge amount of respect for, but who didn't have a massive Sky Sports deal when Fury started off and, you know, did his best by him. And Fury's kind of got that fame or notoriety, whichever you want to call it, a lot later in his life and in his career than Joshua has. And I bet there's a little bit of resentment there. I bet there is, that Joshua's been kind of the public and the boxing darling for so long. And Fury's had to kind of scrap and claw and beat Klitschko in Germany and beat Wilder in the US to get to where he is now. And he's, you know, beloved now. But it's taken him a lot longer and a more circuitous route to get there. And I bet there's some sort of resentment that feeds into his motivation now.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You put it perfectly, to be honest. Anthony Joshua has got like the best of the best. But then again, it goes off to personal experiences as well. Like, could Fury have done things differently? Of course. But then again, there's certain things that he couldn't help. Obviously, day to day as humans, we can't help certain things that we do, certain things that we go through. And it wasn't no fault of his own. But for sure, I think that's going to play a factor. Mate, this fight just gets me so amped. Like I can't.
I was really worried what you were going to say.
Yeah. I had to pick my words there, but like I just all I'm going to say is I keep repeating myself is I can't wait. I can't believe it, and I hope. I'm not getting excited for no reason.
No, well, I don't think you are. I think there's a lot still to be agreed, but I think if there's a groundswell behind it, and the fact that the announcement, which some people say was new news, some people say was just a rehash of what had already been agreed 6 weeks before. But it's a testing thing, isn't it? You put things out there into the world, into the social media world, and see what the reaction is. And people were largely in favour of it and really, really enthusiastic about it. And when you see that, you know, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, Frank Warren, they'll all be seeing dollar signs or pound signs, won't they, when they see the clamour for the fight now.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to touch on this last year as well. What was your thought when this news came out? Two things. When this news came out, first of all, Anthony Joshua's not said a word on it. Tyson has, Eddie has, Frank has, everyone said something. Bob has. The only person not to say something about it is Joshua. Now, I don't know why, if that's because, you know, the thing that the world's going through right now with the Black Lives Matter is definitely way more important.
Takes
by the
priority,
way.
yeah.
It takes way more priority. So if he's doing that out of like his own feeling, fair play. If that's your thought as well, I just want to ask you that. And secondly, when people are saying that Eddie's trying to sort of cover Joshua's words that he said the other day that got a lot of backlash, and he's trying to announce this, which I didn't really understand that, because Fury would have to agree to that whole thing, and it doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, taking the first part first, I think, yeah, the Black Lives Matter movement and Joshua's role in it probably did take priority at first. And then the kind of reaction to what he did, particularly the backlash, which I reckon was largely unexpected. I don't think they anticipated the backlash from kind of elements, not just elements of the far right, because I don't want to cheapen it. I think there was a lot of kind of people that would consider themselves centrists that were against what Joshua said as well, or at least the way he said it. So I think the backlash was probably largely unanticipated, and then they probably didn't want to do another Joshua announcement straight afterwards. You know, they probably thought, oh, no, let's back away from it. And then when the stuff came out about Daniel Kinahan's involvement, that got a backlash as well, which was also probably unexpected, because I don't think many people expected Fury to personally credit Daniel Kinahan in his Instagram speech that he did after Eddie Hearn originally announced the news, whether it is news. So Joshua probably was going to do it and then saw the backlash for Black Lives Matter. Then he was going to do it and saw the backlash for Kinahan. His team probably thought, do you know what, we're best off just keeping our powder dry at the moment. It's taking a step back, seeing how the cards fall, And if we need to talk about it, we'll talk about it in a few weeks. Because obviously he's carrying that injury as well. They're probably working on rehabbing that. So just give it a bit of time and see how it all plays out. I think the Eddie Hearn thing, maybe part of the reason, part of the timing for the announcement maybe was to deflect from some of the bad publicity from the stuff with Joshua.
I think it has, you know. I think it has. It's worked. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a lot of social media posts sort of change their way on the whole Joshua thing. A lot less people are actually commenting on what Joshua said. And by the way, I'm going to say it for probably the 4th time on the channel. I've repeated myself, and I will always repeat myself because I think it's absolutely... I want to choose my words right here because I didn't in one of the videos and I got a lot of backlash for it. But I think if you're going to pick on someone and what they said, and if you're going to pick up maybe what Danny said right now or what I'm saying, if you want to pick up on what people are saying, make sure you understand the situation. Make sure you understand what they are saying and how they are saying it and what the whole movement is about. I'm just going to touch on this because I don't want to go too deep into it. The whole movement was about Black Lives Matter. Yes, for sure. You can take it out of context. But most of you are 28, 30, 35, 30, 40, 50. You're old. You guys are you're grown-ups. You're not 15, 14, 13. You're not young kids that are on social media. You're grown-ups. You've been through life. You have life experience. Read and understand what this whole thing is about. The whole protest is about Black Lives Matter. Why? Because of the violence and the absolute BS that Black people have to go through from history to now, right? Yeah. Every day. So that's why it's a movement. And that's why he's saying literally abstain from spending money in organize. They didn't, by the way, he didn't say the word white. He didn't say that. Why are you picking out that? It's about racism against racist organizations. Don't spend your money in their organizations and then put it towards the Black-owned businesses. And by the way, last point, I've said this as well. Why can't Black people support each other? Why is that so wrong? If there's one community in the world that needs to support each other, it's the Black community. Why? Because like I said, they get looked down upon, they get humiliated, police violence every day to this day is happening. So why is it so wrong? Even if he did say it like that, why is it so wrong for a community to come together and uplift themselves? Come on, man, get in your head properly and figure this stuff out. That's me.
I couldn't agree more. And the funniest thing for me, right, is the fact that Tyson Fury has somehow become like the EDL hero. Like Tyson Fury, your typical, right-wing racist, doesn't really have a lot of time for travellers historically. And like now, I've seen so many comments on our YouTube saying, Anthony Joshua's a racist, never supporting him again. Can't wait till Fury smashes him. It's fine to support Fury, but don't make him your like figurehead in this race war. It's crazy. Like Fury's a traveller. He's probably experienced quite a lot of discrimination in his own life.
They go through racism as well, very bad. Travelers have it bad. I've got quite a few traveler friends here in Sheffield, and I know I've seen it. I've grown up with them. I've seen the bad thing. Even my own people, by the way. I'm not saying my family, but people of Asian descent. To like even what we go through stuff. But there's the travelers as well that they go through stuff. So there, you can't put Tyson as the man.
But it's like that, my enemy's enemy is my friend. It's like the lesser of two evils. We don't like travellers. We don't like blacks. Well, which one do we like most? All right, we like the blacks a little bit more. We hate the blacks more than we hate the travellers. So let's hope that Fury smashes Joshua. It's just bizarre. But I'm telling you, like, not just the comments that you see as well. Like, there's loads of comments that go under review or whatever that we don't put out. That we get in trouble for putting out. But some of the stuff, like the underbelly of the boxing fan, because we all like to think boxing's not touched by racism and discrimination, because you go into a boxing gym and everyone's treated equally. And that is true. I've been to loads of boxing gyms and everyone's treated just as a boxer. It doesn't matter where you're from. But then when you look at some of the YouTube comments among the boxing fan base, and these are hardcore fans through some of the videos that they're watching, they're not just floating kind of casual fans. These are proper diehard boxing fans. And you see, it's quite disturbing that there's still some real kind of age-old stereotypes and feelings within those comments.
It's sad. Honestly, it's sad. But like I said, we're at this bridge where we've come across, we've crossed a certain points of the bridge from the disgusting things that used to happen from back in the day. But we're still at this shaky bridge. It's going to take a lot of time to get used to. But if anything, this is a boxing channel. So if you're listening in and you're a boxing fan and you have an opinion on this, I'd just like to say boxing is the one sport that unifies a lot of races, different people from different backgrounds. Like you mentioned, you walk into a boxing gym. We went to a boxing gym together. There was me, you, obviously, as you can see, different races. There was a guy from like somewhere in Asia. There was another. There was just people, all size, different colors. Doesn't matter. You're always accepted. So as a boxing fan base, guys, let's get together and let's show the world of sport that we are a unified sort of fan base. We even if we support different fighters, we come together and let's drop the racism, man, because it's sickening. And I know that boxing isn't like that for sure.
Can't wait to see the comments.
Let's get on. If you want some of this, we'll go. But yeah, man, I think we should do this more. I think we should do it every week or so.
Well, I don't know if they're doing Stuck With You anymore, so maybe we should just do it every Saturday night.
Well, if you like Michelle and Raheem, the two faces of American YouTube boxing, get ready for Flexen and Fuad. Oh, that's solid. There we go. Yeah, man. So
F&F. Isn't F&F like some cheap clothes brand?
No, it's Fast and Furious.
No, it is, but I swear there's like an F&F is like Tesco's clothes or Sainsbury's or whatever.
I think so. I'm not sure. I feel like I know what you're on about, but I can't.
Someone in the comments will know, I'm telling you. But like F&F is like a cheap clothes brand. I'm sure it is.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah. We'll rethink the name for next time.
Yeah, for sure. Fuad and Flexen or Flexen and Fuad works. I like that. It's catchy.
It sounds like a cool like lawyer, like legal company.
Akon Barak, but Flexen and Fuad.
Just like that.
Awesome. All right, guys. Make sure to subscribe to our channels, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Brilliant. Leave your comments. We want to know what you think.